So it's been a fun weekend. I'm a Marlins fan now. The Yankees have crushed my spirits completely. So Luis Ariz, Jazz Chisholm, I'm all in. No, not really. I just got this hat, so I wanted to wear it. And I thought it was funny that the Yankees just got embarrassed in Miami. So I was like, let me throw this on.
Yeah, it's fitting.
Yeah,
it's fitting.
Exactly. And I still hate the fucking Mets, so just to show you that too. But anyway, let's get into the combat sports stuff because I doubt people are watching us for our baseball acumen. And the UFC had a cool main event last weekend, or well, I guess on Saturday. It was at the Apex, which is never our favorite, but the fight itself was a cool one. Vicente Luque versus Rafael dos Anjos. And Luque won, unanimous decision, 149-46 and then 2 48-47s. And the first thing I want to say, and you can kind of play off this if you want and tell me what you think, but Luque obviously won the fight, but what a gritty fight for both of them. This was just a true, not a typical war, but up against the cage, a real grinder of a fight. I don't know if you kind of agree or not, but
yeah. Well, I mean, I think it was fair to say that it was very much in the range of outcomes for that fight. But for me it's it's one of these. I mean, I guess I get my answer now. It's the opposite. Where if this fight were to happen earlier in these two's careers, is it gonna is there more action to be had on the feet and because a few times in that fight the ref is trying to get the I don't want to say the urgency, but the action up, the pace up in terms of the striking and stuff. And so Vicente Luque pretty much just took it to the ground with RDA, and obviously that's as tall as a task as it gets, and he handled it with absolute just pure skill, and just he earned every single bit of it. There's no taking away from that. So there was a fight or two on this card that definitely had that controversy around the scorecard. Obviously we'll get to it. But this one, fair, not really in terms of the fight itself. I think this was one of the more underrated bookings of the year, and it's unfortunate to see it didn't really pan out the way that everyone probably was hoping for it. But like I said, maybe this happens earlier in these two careers, we probably talk it's still great to even have this fight happen and for it to be as competitive and close as it was. So it's crazy too, because you mentioned how if it would have happened earlier in their careers, we think about Dos Anjos, obviously, who's been around forever, but Vicente Luque is 22-9-1. He's had more than 30 pro fights. He's 31, and he's been in the UFC for a long time. He's got 2015 is when he came in on the Ultimate Fighter with it was that ATT versus Black Zillions at the time. He's really wasted no time ever since he's come to the UFC.
He's been an exciting fighter the whole time, and it's cool to see him start to round out his resume with former champion now in RDA. It's cool to see him doing well, because now, I mean, think about it, he's beaten he beat Woodley,
and in
too.
Terms of championship ceiling, obviously Vicente Luque's is significantly higher than Rafael dos Anjos is at this point in time.
Yeah.
So
I would say that.
Although, he needed it, he got it. That's that.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what'll happen from here. I was impressed. I saw this stat: 8 of 11 on his takedowns, and his career high before that was 4 in a single fight. So he doubled that. So that's great to see for him. The only thing I do want to note is that Luque is obviously a very natural welterweight, and RDA is coming up, and Luque had I think it was 5.5-inch reach advantage. And that matters. He's a bigger dude, which might have contributed to it a little bit, but RDA is so good technically. Yeah. I can't take away from that. Just to see those grappling exchanges, some of them were definitely pretty good, and both of them, I think, had each other in trouble at later points in the fight, because in round 4, I think it was, Luque had RDA hurt pretty bad, and then at the very end of the fight, RDA was turning the tide. You wonder what would happen if it was Pride rules and it just keeps going. Because, I mean, the end of that fight, it was going RDA's way, and I think that, who knows, but that was there were some fun moments in that fight. I will give you, it was a bit of a grinder, you know, like up against the cage, like I said, you know, just two tough grapplers. Well, Luque I think of more as a striker, but I mean, hey, after this fight, why not, right? Grappler. But
yeah, you know, it is what it is. I'd say we got like a decisive winner, and I think we have some, you know, clarity going forward. So
yeah, and Luque called out Dustin Poirier to welcome him to 170. I doubt that happens, but
I mean, yeah, man,
fight.
You gotta respect the the confidence,
that.
obviously. Yeah, exactly.
But
so
the fight that I had in my mind, I don't know how soon Luque is trying to get a fight after like a gritty one like that, but Jack Della Maddalena, he's in a similar spot in the rankings. That could be an interesting one, but
that could be. I mean, shit, that could very well like go how this fight went. You know?
I just didn't.
If Vicente Luque is the one, you know, dictating the pace, then which I honestly would expect him to, but yeah, I think honestly like this, you know, this form of Vicente Luque is like what you're gonna get moving forward, which obviously pans out very well for him, and he needs it in this division, obviously.
Yeah, I like
he knows
him a lot,
that. Yeah, he's been here for a while now. We just talked about it. So, and he's faced obviously like plenty of names already here. So, you know, like yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. Like this fight doesn't prove it to me yet, but it's a good start. I want to see him do it against somebody who's a true welterweight.
Fair.
Because you know, it was impressive. Yeah. I'm not taking RDA has fought at welterweight. Like it's not like he just came up for this fight.
Yeah, and then you know the Poirier call out too. You know for
that's what I'm Poirier, like. I don't want to see like another 155. Like that's just how I see it.
Yeah.
Like it would be a fun fight. Like if they booked it, obviously I'd be excited. But I don't know. I want to see him up against. I mean, another
just
welterweight.
like you know, like we've said, man. Like welterweight is just so top heavy. It feels.
And Luque's he's lost to Bilal.
Exactly.
So
you know
it's a little tough. Like,
kind of like if you're like, you know, reeling on that top 10, I'd say like no one's really like giving you much of a shot. So you know, yeah, that's right. Like with a fight like this against, you know, RDA at the tail end of his career, you know, at welterweight, like.
And that dude's a legend too. Let's just say that. Like talk about a guy who should get BMF consideration. Like he's fought anybody and everybody in his career. So I don't know. We'll see what happens for both guys. But you were talking before about the controversial fight on the card. Cub Swanson defeats Hakeem Dawodu via unanimous decision. Controversial one. It was 29-28, all three judges. Now, I will say this, like, it's not the crazy, like, because when I first saw that Cub said he didn't think he won, I was like, this must have been insane. But it wasn't the craziest decision I've ever seen. I didn't agree with it, let me say that, but I don't think it was as crazy as some people may think, and I'll tell you why, and you can tell me what you think of this, but in round 3, which I think is the round that was probably, like, the most debatable, because I think Cub had round 1, Dawodu had round 2. I think Dawodu controlled more of round 3 and did so much damage on the feet, but Cub Swanson took him down with like 2 minutes left in the round, held him there, and landed some ground and pound, but in my opinion, not enough to give him the round, and apparently not in Cub's opinion either, you know. So, like, but the reason why I think that could have influenced the scorecards, and you hear the commentators say it all the time, a lot of the times how you end a round can really sway the judges, and they might have seen Cub Swanson on top of Hakeem Dawodu, beating him up for the last couple minutes, minute and a half of that round, and that could have been the decider of the fight, honestly. But what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fair enough from there, you know. I think, like, you know, obviously I think it's one of those that just does speak for itself, and then you know, the decision just doesn't really add up. But I mean, you know, yeah, like I suppose, I don't know, I guess just the unanimous decision was just really strange. But
I'll even read you some of like the stats in total. Like Hakeem Dawodu outlanded him in significant strikes and total strikes. And let me see round 3 real quick because I want to see how much control time Cub had, if I can find that. He controlled him for 1 minute and 20 seconds, so I was giving him too much credit. 1 minute and 21 seconds, sorry. But that's kind of my point. Like,
yeah,
he ended the fight on top. That's why I think the judges might have been like, okay, he won this round. He was beating him up at the end, but 1 minute and 20, basically in a 5-minute round, I don't know. And also, let me just say this: in total strikes, Hakeem Dawodu outlanded Cub Swanson by 20. So it's not like the strikes were that close either. Like, because you could make the argument if it was like round 2, for example, which was 52-48 in Cubs' favor, actually. But like this one, Dawodu was just landing so much more at such a higher clip. They basically threw the same amount of strikes, and Cub didn't land anywhere near as many. So I don't know. That's a tough one, honestly. But I feel like my theory on this one is correct, honestly.
Yeah, that's fair. Because I honestly, yeah, I mean, I think just, like, I don't know. I think because it's like hard to, like you want to obviously like separate, the fight itself from. It's not like it was a bad fight whatsoever.
Oh, it was a great fight. I enjoyed it, and I wanted to say this too, like. Credit to Cub Swanson. This dude's given us like so many wars. I say this all the time, but him versus Doo-Ho Choi at UFC 206. That's literally my favorite 3-round fight of all time. And if you guys haven't seen it, go watch it. Do yourself a favor. I'm sure it's on YouTube, or if you have ESPN Plus, Fight Pass, whatever you got to do, watch it. But Cub Swanson's a legend himself, and even afterwards, like just the humility to say that he didn't think he won the fight. And talking about his kids and stuff like that, like how could you not like a dude like Cub Swanson? There's worse guys who this could happen to. You know what I mean? So Cub's a legend. I'm in his corner no matter what. But it was a close fight. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the last fight we're going to talk about on this card, which is Khalil Rountree versus Chris Daukaus in Chris Daukaus's first 205-pound fight in the UFC, and didn't go too well for him. Khalil Rountree obviously knocked him out pretty badly in the first round. I will say this to start: I didn't love the matchup coming in because, and I think Chris Daukaus is good, but this style matchup just wasn't good because Khalil Rountree is like a sniper Muay Thai guy, and Chris Daukaus in the past has left his head in the pocket for way too long, and against a guy who's sniping you like that, that's not a good formula for success. And you could see that he was getting shots landed on him early, and then the big shot that ended it was just like, all right, well, I kind of saw it coming. I don't know, and I like Chris Daukaus because I don't like saying that. Like, I'm not trying to say it with disrespect because I do think he has a future at 205 pounds. But this matchup, man, I don't know. I didn't like it for him. But what were your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, dude. I mean. So no, it's not really fair to, I guess, let's say, like, the move to 205 is going to like propel him to that next level, but just based how I honestly kind of felt like before the fight and now obviously after, like, I don't know, I don't think it really moves any needle for him, honestly. I feel like if heavyweight is where, like, I guess if you want to say maybe where he's gonna get the most like important fights, because you just like you just mentioned, like, this match, like, he gets Khalil Rountree.
See, like, I agree with you, but he's so undersized at heavyweight. Like, they were talking about it during the fight. When he fought Derek Lewis, he was almost like 50-something pounds.
Yeah, I mean, tough, like, man. That, like, yeah, his cut from heavyweight to light heavyweight doesn't seem that much different either. So yeah, like, it makes sense. And
that's why I'm saying, like, if I were him, I'd try and stick it out a little bit. Like, don't get discouraged by this fight. Like, Rountree's good. He's like an underrated guy.
Maybe sometime down the road, like, this is a fight that happens again. Because, like, hey man, like, for, like, dude, like, I mean, this guy is clearly above you now in this new division. Like you have to get through him in order to, get to where you're trying to go. So
yeah. Well, we'll see how Rountree goes from here because he wanted
the
main event next,
like
so
that's where we really gotta be focused on because Khalil Rountree is making things happen still, dude.
4 straight wins now. That's why he wants this main event. Wants to prove that he can last in a 5-round fight, and win a 5-round fight. I would love to see it.
Yeah, dude, you see him moving up the card here. So
tell me what you think of my dream main event here: Dominic Reyes versus Khalil Rountree.
Oh man,
it's a fun fight.
That's a fun fight.
Boxing versus Muay Thai. I love stand-up fights.
I mean, you gotta factor in
the
Dominic.
Trajectory.
Yeah, Dominic. That chin of Dominic Reyes is, man. It's just, and we just talked about obviously a sniper like Khalil Rountree. Like it just takes that freaking one. So. But honestly, obviously, yeah, I think that fight would go way longer than this one did, and obviously you'd see a lot more action, not just from one side, but between the two, and obviously perhaps a finish.
Dom Reyes too. I'd love to see him in there again, and in a nice big fight too, like because he's good, man. Like I know he's had a rough run lately, but let's not forget what this dude did versus John Jones. Like, and who knows if that'll be like the defining moment of his career. Time will tell, but he's definitely better than people give him credit for. I will say that. But overall, decent card. Just another one at the Apex, you know what I mean? But we got UFC 292 next week. That's gonna be really fun. We got the UFC bantamweight title fight between Aljamain Sterling and Sugar Sean O'Malley, along with the co-main strawweight title fight, Zhang Wei Li versus Amanda Lemos. Forgot for a second. I don't know why I was about to say somebody else, but obviously me and you and Jim. Shout out Jim. Yeah, man, technical director. We went to the Aljamain Sterling open workout. Got a bunch of content that just came out and probably is going to come out throughout the week, hopefully, with it. We got the 2 interviews. One with the champ himself, Aljamain Sterling, and then the other one with number 1 contender and his teammate, Merab Dvalishvili. So make sure you guys go check that out. And we also have the coverage of the event itself, like the workout, the Q&A after, and didn't do it yet, but I think by the time this comes out, I'll be done with it. It's the I'm going to do like a highlights version of the workout for people like, I guess, more casual viewing. But yeah, so we hope you guys enjoy all that content. We had fun getting it. We got to meet the champ. That was pretty fun. But let's talk about the fight a tiny bit, preview this main event for the people. Aljamain Sterling versus Sugar Sean O'Malley. So this is an obvious striker versus grappler matchup. I think that's clear. O'Malley being the striker, Aljo being the grappler. And Aljo even said during the Q&A it's a matter of when he gets him down. And O'Malley has openly said he has to do everything possible to keep this fight standing. So we know the strategies coming in, which is kind of fun because that's like, I always liked when Khabib fought because it was like everybody knew what he was trying to do. It's just a matter if you could stop it. Both of these guys know what the other person is trying to do. That makes for a fun fight because that means we truly get to see which is going to work better. And this is a fun one, man. Like Aljamain Sterling, his wrestling is elite. His jiu-jitsu is elite. I think he's got some of the best overall like balanced grappling in the sport. And then Sean O'Malley's a sniper, dude. He's, we were just talking about that with Khalil Rountree, but Sean O'Malley's creative, has both stances. He's so fast. He has a lot of power in his punches and his kicks, his knees, every limb pretty much. Dude, like, I'm excited for this fight. And I'm a big fan of both guys. Like, I wish I didn't have to see either of them lose this fight, but I don't know, man. What do you think of this coming in?
Yeah. On the flip side of that, though, you get one of the fights, not one of the fights, but one of the best fights of the year. I think I'll call that like right now. I think this is going to be one of the best main events that we see all year, and I mean, why not, dude? Like these two going out at it for the first time. Obviously we just mentioned the striker and grappler difference, and each guy knows what they have to do. It's just who's gonna execute it the best. And yeah, man, like you got this is just, dude. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of, I guess you could say, turmoil after this fight with the bantamweight division.
I was about to say that the stakes for this fight are so high for both guys because Sean O'Malley is looking for that moment, that championship moment, and we've watched him through his rise. Everybody knows who he is. He's a huge star in and out of the sport, and this is his moment to try and get the title from a guy in Aljamain Sterling who's pretty underappreciated, but way better than people give him credit for, man. And if he wins this fight, he's said he wants to go up to 145 and fight Alexander Volkanovski. So for both of these dudes, the stakes are so high. And that always makes for a good fight. And we know there's a little bit of tension coming in. I don't think it's really anything personal. I think it's just, both guys want to win. And they both are supremely confident that they will. And I just can't wait for it, man. Boston's probably going to be crazy. Can't wait for it. Mm-hmm. Cannot wait for it. But like I said, more content from the open workout for Aljo will be coming out probably throughout the week. Most of it, I'd say, will come out before this pod comes out, but there'll still be some stuff. And next week we'll be back to talk about the pay-per-view. So we'll see y'all then.